Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Nice Bengals win today for all you Bengals fans. We've got an update on the practice today, a little bit of a scrimmage action, senior day, senior tackle got done today. A lot of fun stuff in the Woody Hayes. Edric Houston update, a lot of consternation about him. I'm not worried about him yet, but I think we've got a nice little update coming from Nevada Bucks. We're going to talk about who were the stars at practice today. We've got a nice update. We're going to have a report on BuckeyeScoop.com after this podcast. But again, as always, we appreciate you guys. If you guys have questions about what is going on in the program, around recruiting, send us a super chat. The super chats automatically cut the line. We answer your questions immediately. As always, thank you guys for all of your excellent questions that you bring with the super chats. All of our super chats through Christmas are going to our Pay It Forward fund. It has been a fantastic fund. A lot of people get a lot of utility out of that, and we appreciate you guys supporting it. So if you like this content, please click that like button. That is huge for this channel. Also click subscribe and click that little alert bell. You'll get an alert every time we go live. There's a lot of sports going on, 3 NFL games, basketball games going on right now for the Bucks versus UCLA. But we're going to knock this thing out real quick before some of the night stuff goes on, namely the UFC fight. So we appreciate you guys. Shout out where you guys are watching from. And give me your projection on, I want your projection for Devin Brown's stat line for the Cotton Bowl in Missouri. How many touchdowns, how much yardage, completion percentage? Put that down in the chat. Appreciate you guys as always. Going to throw it to our starting quarterback, Nevada Buck. We've got Edric Houston. They had a nice practice today. You know, these bowl practices, especially on a Saturday, you get a lot of scrimmage reps. I mean, at scrimmages, you move the field a little bit. You got to get a lot of reps in with these young kids because you got to get them on film. You got to evaluate them, see where they're at. Devin Brown's coming. Heard it was his best practice he's had as a Buckeye today. It's pretty scary how good he's getting right now. So, I think that he's kind of a bolt of lightning. And again, he was on fire today. What have you heard, Nevada?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna start it off with a question because I was asked this question and I'm embarrassed to say that I don't know the answer to this question. But I had somebody send me a message say, Nevada, how do I do a super chat? And I was like, I don't know. Is there like a button that says like super chat or something like that? Is it like a super chat button? Or how does one do a super chat if someone was interested in doing a super chat?
Well, it depends upon how you're watching it. If you're watching it on like your iPhone, for instance, I'm literally going to log on to our video right now on our iPhone. There's like a little chat doohickey. Now, obviously, I'm logged in as Buckeye Scoop, but there's a little button right here that says super chat. So it's right by the live chat. You can take a look, and then there's a little mechanism where it says super chat. So again, it depends on what you're watching on. Because if you're watching on your computer, it's a different spot. If you're watching on your TV, if you use your little smart TV remote, there's a little thing that says super chat on the menu. It's right next to where the little thumbs up and thumbs down are for the video. So again, I'll if you guys want, I'll do a tutorial on it because I know it is kind of difficult, even though some of you guys haven't figured out. I haven't given many super chats. I've done a few, but it just depends on what you're watching on. But I appreciate you guys looking at that. But usually it's in the menu next to where you like the video. If you leave a thumbs up, so hopefully you guys can figure that out and find it. Because again, you guys bring great questions. So again, we appreciate that and the good stuff that you guys bring. So I don't know if that's helpful. If
okay.
Not, you can YouTube it. Go ahead.
Okay, super helpful. Okay, now let's get to the practice/scrimmage today. Devin Brown, star of the scrimmage, had another he was good, really, really good. Had everybody buzzing again. Ohio State doing a lot of interesting things, shuffling some guys on defense, shuffling some guys on offense, specifically on the offensive line, moving guys around. We saw some Enoch today. We saw some Luke Montgomery today. We saw some guys moving in and upside the line. We saw, guys repping at center, some guys sliding inside, repping at guard, some guys repping at tackle. So they're moving all over the offensive line today, looking for some different offensive line combinations for the bowl game for next year. So would not be surprised to see some shuffling on that as we kind of move forward. But, it was interesting how much wholesale. I mean, it was almost like back to fall camp where we were talking about the moving guys from first team to second team and moving up from second team up to the first team and moving guys all around the position. Today was one of the craziest that I've seen on that. Interesting timing kind of coming into the bowl game. I know that they're trying to find some answers for next year, but I found that really interesting. I mean, what do you make of that? What do you make of all the shuffling on the offensive line?
Well, I think they're trying to figure out the best combination to go against Missouri. So is that Carson Hensman and then Matt Jones at guard? Is it Matt Jones at center and then Enoch at guard? Is it Matt Jones at center and Carson at guard? There's a lot of moving parts. Again, I think that if you had my druthers, I'd have had Matt probably at center all year and put Carson at guard just because I think Matt's stronger and I think he's a 6-year guy and a lot of confidence and he's been a center in the past. So Carson, you got to remember he's never played center until he got here, so he's still kind of learning it. He's still learning the snaps, and I think he's got a lot of upside. He's a kid that started 12 games as a freshman, which is almost impossible to do as a redshirt freshman. And but I think that Enoch. It was always weird to me that Enoch really never got a real shake at guard from the jump, just because he's like 22 years old. He started the Michigan game, and he was just kind of a backup that didn't portal and whatever. So he started the Michigan game last season. Excuse me. So I assumed going into camp, it'd be Matt at center, Enoch at guard. They brought in Victor Cutler, who didn't do anything. He's not even with the team anymore. So I don't know. I think that it's Justin Fry and Ryan Day want to get a look at who the potential line combinations could potentially be at guard and specifically right guard and right tackle. I would guess Donnie Jackson's coming back. He'll probably get a little NIL deal to stay. But Josh Fryer wants to move to guard. Everybody knows that. And then at right tackle, where Josh Fryer was all Big Ten, who can pass protect? Is it George Fitzpatrick? Is it Tigre Tishkabola? Is it Luke Montgomery? I think Luke, he's getting a look at guard with the ones right now, which is, it's different, because he doesn't strike me as a guy that is a guard from his skill set. I think his skill set is speed, agility, pass protecting the edge. I think that's where he shines, his movement out on the edge. He's not more of a fire hydrant type dude like you kind of need at guard, because guard, you're going against guys that weigh 330, 340, 320, and Luke's a light guy. He's not a heavy guy. I don't think he's a very strong guy, not yet. And a lot of it's just because he's young. He still has to keep grinding in the weight room to get his roots, so to speak. His roots being his lower body strength. But Josh Fryer is a really strong guy, and I think he'd be really good at guard. And I think that Josh Fryer knows that he's an NFL guard, so that's why he wants to bump in there and have a big year next year and be a preseason All-American type guy at guard. You got to remember when we started camp, and this is like an eternity ago, when we had Nick Petit-Frere at right tackle, we had Thayer at left tackle, we had Paris at right guard, we had it was like Luke Whippler at center and Harry at center. And then we had, we started that first day of camp with Josh Fry at left guard like 2 years ago, 2021. And he was our starting left guard. And then, in the middle of camp, they shifted to put DeWand in at right tackle, and everybody kind of did musical chairs. Like Thayer is the guy that did the most selfless thing in history and decided to move into guard after he'd never played guard before in his life, and put Nick at left tackle. And then, Paris stayed there and Luke Whippler took over at center for Harry. And that was the line that we had. That was a really productive line. It was, award-wise, it's probably the best line we've ever had, because we literally had 6 guys make All Big Ten that year, which has never happened in the history of the Big Ten. It's hard to get anybody to make All Big Ten, but we had 6 guys, including Matt Jones, get honorable mention All Big Ten that year because he was in and out of the lineup, I believe, when Thayer was hurt with back injuries. So, Matt's a veteran guy, and again, Missouri's got a good D-line, so we got to be ready to block these guys. And I just think it's interesting seeing kind of the shuffling and trying to figure out what will the offensive line look like the first day of spring ball next year. Defensively, we got a lot of guys that are flying around. Again, CJ Hicks is having, he's coming. CJ, if CJ stays inside Jim Knowles' scheme, he'll be lethal. Now, CJ's problem is he doesn't always do that, so that's why he gets to watch a lot of the game and not play a lot of the game. But I think that that's kind of his bugaboo right now. And these guys figure out real quick, if you don't want to do what Jim Knowles wants you to do, then you ain't gonna be playing. But yeah, your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, I think the offensive line shuffling is really, really interesting to watch. It's look, I think what Carson did this year was otherworldly good. Playing as never played center before, playing as a redshirt freshman, starting 12 games or whatever he did. But like you said, he could use some work, and is he the best option for us against Missouri? I think so, but could I see them working Matt Jones in there? I mean, look, we were talking about Matt Jones playing center all year long, so that wouldn't shock me if we saw some of that. So, it's going to be that's going to be something that's interesting to kind of monitor as we kind of go forward. Defensively, like you mentioned, C.J. Hicks, Malik Hartford, Jermaine Matthews, the young guys on defense is really fun to watch because the knock on CJ has not been his athleticism or his ability to get guys down or to cover or to frankly he's a playmaker. He makes plays all over the field in practice, but like you said, he's a freelancer. He's a little he doesn't always play within the confines of what Jim Knowles wants him to do, and that's been a limiting factor. But he's been better this bowl prep. He's been better this bowl prep. And sometimes it just takes a little longer for guys for the light to go on, for things to kind of starting to click and start to handle. But he's been really good during the bowl prep, and that's a welcome sign going into next year because he's a guy that we could really help. I mean, with Cody Simon back, we've answered a lot of the questions there. But CJ's athleticism could be a big bonus for us, if he's willing to play within the confines of the system, and he seems to have embraced that this bowl prep, and that's certainly good news for Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree. I think CJ, we need a big year out of him next year. He's probably going to be starting at will. Put Cody Simon at Mike. I mean, Cody filled in a little bit when Tommy was down. I mean, Cody can play both, but I think he's better, as the older guy, being the Mike, being the guy that calls the defense and lets CJ just come out and play at will. I think that, there's going to be some young blood next year, depending on what JT decides to do. I feel like Jack Sawyer might be leaning towards staying. Which would be, again, and this could change tomorrow, and you could declare. But I think that if you put a gun to my head, I'd say he's probably going to stay. Then all of a sudden, you get, you get some of these guys. You get Caden Curry going, you get Kenyatta, you get one of these guys going on the other end, and you get a good D line. Again, these guys, Hero Canu's got to keep coming. He's a guy, like guys like Hero Canu are the guys that need to make a name for themselves this bowl practice. Like when they're going against the second team O line, they gotta massacre those guys. And some of these young guys that are out there playing offensive tackle, offensive guard, it's kind of open auditions to see who wants to be the fifth guy next year. Because, you're going to have Fryer at guard. You're going to have Hinsman at center. You're going to have Donnie, and you're going to have Simmons. So it's like the open kind of slot is, either going to be at right guard or right tackle. I think, Josh Fryer would play right tackle if we had to, if we didn't have a guy that could protect the edge, but he wants to play guard. So, the onus is on finding a guy that can protect the edge at right tackle and pass block, for Devin Brown or whoever's our quarterback next year. I also think that, with the running back situation, Dallin Hayden's got to get a lot of work, man. I mean, they got to get Dallin ready to go because he's got to play this game. I mean, he's going to be in that game early because we don't have anybody else. He's going to be a horse. And then next year, got Peoples, Dixon, Trey, who, I think Trey's coming back just because of all the smoke, but, we'll find out pretty quick here. Again, these guys don't have to decide till after the national championship game. So that's like an eternity away. It's got to be, almost a month away. So it'll be interesting to see. Good first super chat of the night. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas. Pay it forward. Thank you so much. U.S. Navy. Love the Navy. 05 or 06 to 10. Appreciate you. Got to see the 06 Minnesota game while home on leave. Nevada ever make it out to Guam? The 06 Minnesota game, that field was bad. Oh my God. Do you remember what the grass looked like in that game? It was like hay. And I remember that we played that game and the field was so bad that they ripped the field up after the game and they put in a new field for the Michigan game. And that grass was actually worse. So, they were putting down grass in like November when it's freezing cold. So none of it really took root. And we were playing on like hay for the 1-versus-2 game, which was amazing because guys were sliding all over the place and slipping. But Nevada, have you ever made it to Guam?
I actually have made it to Guam before because you remember I was an Air Force brat, so we were doing the whole, Taiwan, Guam, Philippines, Japan type of rotation. So we actually lived in Guam for 4 months. So that was fun when I was a young little Nevada buck. And thanks to my dad's Air Force thing, he never stayed anywhere longer than like 13 months, and so you got to live all over the world. But when people, I'm always envious of people when they're like, "Oh, I know this guy since elementary school," and I'm like, dude, for me, when I left my friends, like you never saw them again. That was the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like they left and you were gone. And long distance calls were $9 a minute, so you weren't you weren't corresponding with anybody, and that was kind of the end of the road. But yeah, no, definitely enjoyed my time in Guam, albeit a short period of time.
Did you yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. Is like you did all that before social media, like before Instagram or Facebook or any way you could really keep in contact with people. There wasn't like $9 a minute or writing, a letter that you put on the slow boat that goes over to wherever it's at. So that is interesting. I mean, I remember, when I moved from Naples to Ohio, I lost, a lot of friends just because, you don't see them anymore. All of a sudden, there wasn't social media or anything, and you're not going to call a bunch of people that you knew in fifth, sixth, seventh grade. But yeah, it is kind of funny how when you move, sometimes everything just kind of disappears. Uh, Nevada, Edric Houston is a real interesting case right now because he has visited Bama, Clemson. What are you hearing on Edric Houston right now?
Well, let me tell you what Ohio State's position on this is. One, wow, I'll go along with that. But one, they're not yelling like that, but they are aware of everything that he's been doing, and they are not concerned of anything he's doing. They are at the same place on Edric Houston that they are on J.J. Smith. And I know people were worried about J.J. Smith, where J.J. Smith wore Florida State gloves. J.J. Smith's gone. J.J. Smith's getting the bag. J.J. Smith's going to be leaving. And now that's kind of dampered down. That's where Ohio State is on Edric Houston. So take that for what it's worth. If you want to freak out, freak out. But all I'm telling you is Ohio State's not freaking out. So, but feel free if you want to freak out. It's a Saturday, freaking out. So this is the United States of America. You're free to freak out if you want to, but Ohio State is not freaking out. Although that is Mark Pantoni. That is Mark Pantoni screaming in the background right there. Do you hear that voice? That screaming? That is actually Mark Pantoni's voice screaming from the recruiting room over Edric Houston. So feel free. Mr. Barton.
Do you think he's gone?
No, I do not think he's. I do not think he's gone. I don't think he's gone. I think he signs with Ohio State.
No,
But
it's
again,
gonna be.
I'm basing that strictly on Ohio State's reaction to this. I don't have a contact with Edric Houston. I'm not talking to his mentor or his agent or is that. This is strictly based upon Ohio State's review of it. So Ohio State's generally pretty good about this stuff in terms of when things are going bad, you can generally tell, and they generally start to kind of panic about a recruit. They're not panicked on this one. I don't know what that means other than generally when they were not panicked about J.J. Smith. And remember, the J.J. Smith stuff was coming out, and it was like hot and heavy for a few days where people were convinced, he gone. And that's where they're at with Edric. They're not concerned.
Yeah, the JJ Smith thing was always interesting because I never felt like he was ever a threat. But I mean, you got to understand, like some of these kids get paid to go on visits, and that changes all the math for me. It's like when a kid gets paid to go on an unofficial visit or an official visit, like why would you not do that? I mean, if you can make some scratch on the back end, and none of it's legal, but it never has been. So when these kids go and visit the same school 10 times, over the course of 3 months, it's because they're getting a little bit of a bag every time they go. So I don't know. I don't think it's all bad. Nevada, Missouri's coming up end of the month. I mean, God, it's almost 2 weeks away or so. Who needs to step up, and who do you look to see break out for the Cotton Bowl?
Well, I think I mean, for me, this is going to be a great test for our defensive secondary. And that's really the first time that they've really been kind of tested this year. Every game, the close games, the Notre Dame game, the Michigan game was really a question of can we stop the run? Can we defend the tight end? Can we get them off the field? We did that with, some mixed success, obviously more so in the Notre Dame game than the second half of the Michigan game. But this game's going to be about passing. This is, they want to push the ball down the field. They want to get the ball to Burden, who's, a first round type wide receiver. So this is going to be a great matchup, kind of strength versus strength, because I feel like our defensive secondary is really the strength of the team. And for Missouri, that's what they like to do. They like to throw it. So looking for all those, those corners, the Jordan Hancock, the Denzel Burke, the safeties to make plays, make game type of changing plays, which we really haven't had a lot of this year. This has been the weirdest year on defense that I can ever remember because we've got the number 2 ranked defense in the country in scoring, the number 3 ranked defense in the country in total defense, yet we don't force a lot of turnovers. But we've been unbelievable on third down. And so it's really been, a kind of, we talk about the cage rushing. We talk about kind of the conservative style of defense, the lack of big plays given up this year, which has been, unbelievable. But we don't cause a lot of turnovers. And I don't know if that's a result of the conservative play. Is some of it luck and happenstance? I've seen some studies talk about that, how a lot of times turnovers are just luck. A lot of times, small sample size, it's balls getting batted in the air or guys making plays or, fumbles or things like that. But, for Ohio State, this year's defense has kind of redefined what good defense is going to be. But I think the pressure is not solely on them, but squarely on them for this game, because I think the offense is going to do its thing, and we'll have the whole Devin Brown show. But I want to see what the defensive secondary can do.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be interesting to see how much we throw, because I think they're going to try to throw the crap out of it with Devin playing quarterback. I think you really got to get a good evaluation on him and figure out if he's your guy. I mean, if he goes out and shreds it, he's your guy. If he doesn't, then it's back to the portal. It's back to digging around. And again, Ryan's not scared to make a change after spring ball. I mean, he'll be looking in the portal as long as possible to find the best solution. And if it's Devin, great. Lincoln didn't have his best day today. He struggled a little bit. I think something that people don't understand with these guys is that when they play scout team, like Lincoln played a lot of scout team this year. He's not playing scout team anymore with McCord being gone. But when you play scout team, you don't learn the playbook at all. Like you literally are looking at a card and they draw up, Wisconsin's play or Michigan's play, and you look at it and you say, okay, throw it to this guy. And so Lincoln will look at the card, get the snap, throw it to that guy, whatever. They know the coverage, they know kind of the look they're trying to get. So you're kind of like a robot out there. Now you still have to throw it. You still have to, if you're a receiver, you got to run the route and all that, but you're not learning the plays the way that you traditionally would if you're with the offense, So when you go, what scout team is, guys, basically it's like the show team. You basically run Michigan's offense, you run Wisconsin's offense versus the first team defense. So, a lot of these kids that are young kids, they've been here, they're freshmen, whatever. They didn't learn the plays, or they learned some of it maybe in spring ball or whatever. A lot of these kids come early, so they've got spring ball, but a lot of it's really easy to forget if you haven't been running it. Because once you go to scout team stuff, man, you're not running the regular plays very often. So, I think Lincoln is kind of struggling with the book right now, and it's a kid that's got to turn it up a little bit. Devin had maybe his best practice of his career today, and Lincoln struggled a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that looks going forward. I think the reports about Devin have been crazy. So but again, we had this in the fall too, where and again, it's not the same sources either. There's people that are just reaching out saying this guy's really good, and I guess we're gonna see at the Cotton Bowl, because the lights will be bright, and I think Devin, he's been dying to have this chance, and he's got a chance to crush it. That's the thing about a kid like this is, everybody wants to start until it's time to start. And then all of a sudden, you're out there and you're going to be going. And the one thing Devin gets to benefit from is he doesn't have any guys opting out from an offensive line perspective, which is great. He doesn't have any, Paris Johnsons, not that Paris did, but if guys wanted to opt out, it'd be a much different scenario. But he's got his whole offensive line. He'll have good skill players, regardless of what Marvin does. He'll have Emeka, he'll have Carnell Tate, he'll have Ennis. And I think the guy that's going to get fed is Carnell, because I think Carnell and him, they were the second team, second huddle guys all year, and that's who he was thrown to. That's who he has the most chemistry with. So I'm sure he's got some chemistry with Emeka, but it's probably not as much as Carnell, especially when he's running with the twos all season. So that'll be fascinating to watch, I think. Well, Nevada, we're getting close. I mean, again, this is we got signing day coming up. We've got this game coming up. What are your final thoughts? We'll wrap this thing up and go get ready to watch some UFC fighting.
No, I just reading another text from one of my sources at Ohio State, and he's like, Houston doesn't want to play in that Bama front, and I think people don't understand that sometimes. I mean, look at the way Alabama plays defense and what they ask their defensive ends to do, and it's different than what Ohio State's asking their guys to do, and that's why I think for a guy like him, Bama's not a good fit. Just defensively, they don't fit his style play, and Ohio State seems like it fits like a glove. So I'll stick with Ohio State's confidence on that one, and still going to be completely unconcerned until proven otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, until these guys, get locked in, it is what it is. But these kids are all going to go on visits. These guys get paid to go on visits, so they might as well go take a visit, go eat another steak dinner, whatever. But it didn't hurt us with some of these guys in the past. It didn't hurt us with J.J. Smith going to Florida State 50 times, going to Miami, a million times because he lives in Miami. So, again, it is what it is, and we'll be fine. Regardless of who we get, we're always fine. I know people don't like to hear that, but look at our winning percentage over the last 10 years, last 20 years. Like if you scratch Bama, we're the program. 2 titles, a lot of appearances in the playoffs, a lot of wins, a lot of conference titles. So we're in good shape, folks. It'll be all good. So that being said, appreciate you guys. This will be a little bit shorter because there's a lot of good sports going on. The basketball team is playing a lot of good stuff. So we appreciate you guys tuning in, though, as always. If you enjoy this content, leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Appreciate you guys so much kicking it with us. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're going to have a scrimmage update up shortly, so we'll have a little bit of a nugget there. But we appreciate you guys. If you enjoy this content, leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we are always here to kick it with you guys every night. Big NFL Sunday tomorrow, so we'll probably go right before Sunday Night Football is usually the little sweet spot where there's a little window for us to go. You guys can tune in. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow night. I hope you guys have a great night. Big fights tonight, big football tonight. It's going to be a great night of sports. So thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.